Julie? Calling Julie, calling Julie. Well, I don't see trustee Geezer, so we're ready for you. I'm gonna try and fill in for him, but I don't know if I'm that good, but.
You just want me here?
So tonight we have with us Julie Johnson, which is one of our police officers, which does one phenomenal job as a sergeant. I'm sorry, not police officer.
It's okay, thank you.
And she has a military background, and you are gonna talk to us a little bit about what you did in the military.
I am. I'm not sure how long I have.
You can have all the time you want.
Oh, all right. Settle in. I got lots to say. Lots to say. No, as the mayor said, my name's Julie Johnson, and I've been a police officer here in Carroll Stream for 20 years. And prior to me becoming a police officer, I did serve in the U.S. Marine Corps for 6 years. And I joined right out of high school. So I grew up in the south suburbs in Alsip, home of the Swaparama, right? Yep. And I went to an all-girls Catholic high school. And I was definitely expected by my parents to graduate high school, go to college. That was the plan. And but I didn't come from a rich family. My family didn't have a lot, and it took them everything to put me through Catholic high school. So as I got into my senior year of high school, I realized that although college was very important to me, I didn't know that I was quite ready to go to college. I wasn't sure if I was responsible enough, honestly, and I didn't want to waste my parents' money. So I spent a lot of time, self-reflecting, thinking about it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I came home and I said, Mom, I think I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And I'm pretty sure my mother never, ever thought she would hear me say that. And she was not extremely pleased because that wasn't her, that wasn't what she had envisioned. But I was very dedicated, and that's very much what I wanted to do. And once she realized that military was where I was going, for sure, because I was dead set, she tried to talk me into other branches. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, Mom, I'm going to do it all the way. And to me, my perception was that the Marine Corps were the most elite. They were the toughest. They were the most squared away, and that's where I wanted to be. So I went down to the recruiting station, and well, let me step back for a minute, because we had to make a deal. So I was 17 at the time, and my mom said, for you to join, I have to sign for you, and I am not going to allow you to go active duty. You have to join the reserves. That was our deal. So I said, okay, I agreed to that deal. I met with the recruiter. I signed up in my senior year of high school, and December of that year, so about 29 years ago today, I was Parris Island, South Carolina, in Marine Corps boot camp, 18 years old, and had enlisted into the reserves. And when I graduated in March of that year, or of the next year, in 1989, I went away to Norfolk, Virginia, to my MOS school. I was an 0411, which is a Marine Integrated Maintenance Management Specialist. So basically, I was attached to a heavy equipment platoon, and my job was to make sure that all of the equipment was ready to go. It had to be maintained properly. It had to be ready if in case a war were to break out or whatever the case may be. So that was my job. But I found it to be boring, and it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be on active duty. So I spent a lot of time at the recruiting office and trying to find out how I could augment to go active duty. And at that time, the only way for you to go active duty was to be on a target list. So your MOS, your job, had to be on a target list. Mine was not. So, but the recruiting office said, you know what, Julie, you could come and work with us. We'll put you on 90-day temporary active duty contracts, and you could be a recruiter or recruiter aide. And I said, okay, I'll do that until I can augment. So every 90 days, my enlistment would expire, my active duty enlistment would expire, and I would have to re-up, and this kept going on and going on and going on. And what I found out was I was actually a really good recruiter. And I was very successful, and I was one of the top recruiters in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana for many years. And I kept getting promoted, and then I got promoted to corporal in April of 1990. the same year that Operation Desert Shield started. So in November of 1990, I got orders from my reserve unit telling me, come and report with all of your gear, we're being activated. So, which was exciting. So somebody who's in the military, you train, that's what you train for. You want to go, you want to defend your country, you want to be part of that, and my unit was being activated and I wanted to go. So I showed up with all my gear, ready to go, and they said, sorry, we have other plans for you. You're going to go to Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego and go to recruiter school, and we're going to make you a full-fledged recruiter, and that's what you're going to do for us. So it was a little disappointing, but I did like that job, and so that's what I did. I went off to San Diego. I became a recruiter full-time on 2-year contracts. And so essentially I spent the majority of my reserve time on active duty. And I had 1 year left, 1993, and the Marine Corps came to me and said, we need you to either re-enlist, and we will meritoriously promote you and give you your own recruiting station, or you'll have to go back and spend your last year in the reserves. So I was 23 years old, and that was a humongous responsibility. Recruiting is an extremely stressful job. Basically, as a recruiter, your job is to find the future of the Marine Corps, and you're getting these people to sign on that dotted line and to commit to something that a lot of people aren't willing to, and it's a very tough job, very, very stressful. So at 23 years old, to take on my own recruiting station was just a little bit more of a challenge than I was ready for at that point. So I decided to go and spend my last year back in the reserves, which had moved. My reserve unit initially was Gary, Indiana, and that had closed down, and so they moved to Battle Creek, Michigan. So I had to go to Battle Creek, Michigan. The tough part about being a female, especially in the Marine Corps, and especially back then, because we are talking a long time ago, was that very often I was the only female. So we would go out to the field, and as part of your gear, you get a shelter half, which is half a tent, right? Well, I had no one with other half because I was the only girl, right? So they would have to come up with an extra half of a tent so I could have a whole tent. When we were out in the field, there were no facilities, things like that. It was the woods, So there were concerns about that. So funny stories, they would, if I had to use the facilities, they would have to set up a perimeter around the woods so I could go in there and nobody would come in there, We would stay, when I was at Battle Creek, we would go to Fort Custer, which is right next to Battle Creek, Michigan, and we would stay in these old rundown Army squad bays, but they're big open squad bays. So they never knew what to do with the only girl because they couldn't just have them bunking up in the same room with all these boys. Not to mention the facilities was just one big open room, with toilets and open showers. So they didn't know what to do. So again, when I had to go to the bathroom or I had to take a shower, they would have somebody stand outside the door and guard the door, so I could go. So it was very trying, and it was a different experience, but I learned a lot. One of the things as a recruiter, and this happened to me when I went and sat down at the recruiter's office, one of the things the recruiter does is he sets out these benefit tags on the table, and there's 11 of them. Pride of belonging, leadership, management skills, physical fitness, travel and adventure, things like that. And the recruiter asks you, what is it that you're looking for? What do you think that the Marine Corps could give you of looking at these tags, Now, I've showed those tags as a recruiter at least, 100 times. And they all sound great. They're all great things. They're all great qualities. But when I sat there with the recruiter and I looked at those tags, challenge was the one, that's what it was all about for me. I wanted a challenge. And so I knew that the Marine Corps could definitely deliver that to me. And they did. I learned an awful lot in the Marine Corps. I did things that I never thought that I would do, things I'll never do again. I drove heavy equipment. I drove big, huge scrapers. I jackhammered. I did all sorts of things. And obviously I trained, I learned to shoot, I learned to fight, I learned to just sustain myself out in the field for days. It was extremely rewarding, and it was a great experience. So I did get that challenge part for sure. I definitely walked away with that. But I walked away from that experience with so much more than that. I cannot tell you the amount of pride that Marines feel every day. The camaraderie in the Marine Corps is unbelievable, something like I've never experienced before. I learned about, strength and courage, and I learned about honor, and I learned about commitment and dedication. And it wasn't all great. There were some bad experiences. There were things that you can't forget, things that happened that you wish you didn't see or hear or whatever. But I got so much more out of being in the Marine Corps than you could imagine. And so it was really definitely like one of the best experiences of my life. Without a doubt. I'm extremely proud, to be an American, and I'm extremely proud to be a veteran. And, I have many, many titles in my life, and one of the most that I'm proud of is being a U.S. Marine because, like they say, the few, the proud, not everybody can, have that title. And so it's one of the things that I hold most dear to me. So it was a wonderful experience for me, like I said, and I really did get a lot out of it. And it was, if I think about if I ever had to go back and do it over again, would I do anything differently? And there were times I said, yeah, I would have joined active duty right away. That's what I would have done. But maybe it would have been different. Maybe my experience would have been different. So it was really great. I got a lot out of it, and yeah, just really, really proud to have served. So. That's sort of how it went.
First off, Phil, we have an extra snowplow driver apparently if we need it.
I could do it.
Julie, more than anything, thank you for being willing to sign up. Thank you for being ready to protect us, and for picking, helping choose the next group of Marines. That's awesome. And on top of all that, thank you for what you do here and keeping us safe.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks,
Wait
Julie.
a second, 'cause he thought you just walk away.
We all
Still
get,
Wow,
in
mic
charge
drop.
here.
we all get to talk. That's how it is.
I
Yeah.
wanted to say how proud of you we are. Very proud to have you on our police department.
Thank you.
You set the bar high for the younger, newer officers coming in, and we appreciate that. Your experience with them will make them better police officers. I personally want to thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We certainly finished the Veteran Spotlight with a bang, and thank you for sharing your experience. When I got out of high school, that's what I was going to do, until my girlfriend changed my mind. And I regret it every minute. But that was going to be the branch of service that I would have joined, as the Marines. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And Julie, we have a sign over there on the wall, and I know you have one in the police station that reads just the opposite. It says firemen because policemen need heroes too, but you are a true hero. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks.